PlatinumGames. These guys make such fantastic stuff. Oh my god, they're amazing. Recently, the company has moved into the direction of self-publishing all of their work, with their first foray into this being the Wonderful 101 Remastered. This is a simple HD re-release of the Wii U exclusive action-adventure game originally released in August of 2013. Besides updated graphics and a few new modes, there is no indication that we're going to see any substantial changes from the original. Since its initial campaign and the PAX panel where they showed it off, and this happened.
Okami 2. Scalebound. Beautiful Joe 3. Dante versus Bayonetta. Devil May Cry 0, the episode of Sparta. I want to make everything.
Fun fact, I was in the room when that happened. As I said, since then, the game has gotten a lot more attention than it previously has. Since many of you probably haven't even heard of this game before the Kickstarter campaign, and likely know close to nothing about it, I thought I'd give you the lowdown as to what this game is, so that you have an idea of what you're getting into. Before we begin though, full disclosure, I did back this project on Kickstarter, but I'm not going to let that affect my review in any way. Under the direction of Hideki Kamiya of Devil May Cry fame, The Wonderful 101 is what you would expect from the studio and its director. Goofy characters, a story that errs on the side of the ridiculous, and a solid hack-and-slash gameplay experience, all of which work extremely well to deliver a very fun action-packed game with a few minor issues with controls and pacing. You're placed into the control of a team of superheroes called the Wonderful 100, commanded by this man, Will Wedgwood, aka Wonder Red. He's the basic archetypal superhero, secret identity, strong sense of justice, special powers, and so on. In terms of this game's story, there's clearly a lot of influence to be found in comic books and Saturday morning cartoons.
Team, engaging unlimited form!
You have your team of good superheroes fighting against the evil aliens. At least on the onset. It's actually slightly more nuanced than that, but you have to wait a few chapters for that to happen. There's also some tension between the individual members of the team. That being said, the game doesn't waver from its main villains, the Geth Jerk, being the bad guys, even if a few individual characters do change sides, as I said. In terms of tone, you have a pretty distinct trend that you see in a lot of superhero stories, especially ones directed more at children, where you have these enormous stakes juxtaposed with a tone that can be a bit on the silly side at times.
Oh my god, you will not believe the day I'm having.
It's so nice of you to join us. This is, what you say, fashionably late, no?
That's how you get these bombastic villains like Prince Vorkin, a kind of foil to Red, who when he's about to challenge the Wonderful 100 in combat, has one of the members, Wonder Pink, fall hopelessly in love with him.
Why didn't you tell me there was someone else? I mean, I am open-minded. I wouldn't have cared.
He also goes the entire game mispronouncing certain terms.
The fearless Blunder Red, at last.
Wonder Red.
Probably, no, absolutely not on purpose. This makes for a game that revels in its silliness and over-the-top nature in a way that only this genre and studio can really get away with. Yet, despite this, the story kinda works. It's got its issues here and there, and there's a detail that's revealed at the end of the game that isn't fully explored, especially given that there are parallels between it and actual real-world problems, both past and present. I guess that's to be expected given the overall tone of the game though, but it's still a missed opportunity. In terms of structure, the game is divided into 9 main missions called operations, each of which have 2 or 3 segments, with the last one usually being a boss fight of some kind. You're able to go back to any of these missions at any time after you've cleared each operation for the first time. The game also constantly saves between individual combat scenarios, making it so you can stop playing at pretty much any time. Since you don't gain access to the full team initially, you instead have to place these little masks on random people, usually innocent civilians, to pad out your ranks. This makes for gameplay where you're reliant on amassing as many heroes as possible to increase your strength. Each of the members of the Wonderful 100 are able to have all of the other heroes unite to form some type of tool in what's called a Unite Morph, which can be used to both fight and get past certain obstacles. These are unlocked with each of the main colored heroes and are summoned, as well as causing members to switch out, by drawing certain patterns either with the right control stick or the Wii U gamepad. This drawing mechanic is also the way you recruit civilians into your ranks. Moving on to the combat, the game uses the recruiting heroes and the unite weapons as its main form of attacking. You attack with only a single button, and the game will automatically string together combos with successive presses. You can actually attack without forming a unite morph, but you don't do that much damage. The way to play is to form the largest unite morphs you can with the most heroes, which will then do the most damage. You do have to balance this against your somewhat limited energy resources, and spamming morphs can leave you vulnerable. By defeating enemies, you gain money, which can then be spent at a place called the Wonder Mart to unlock new abilities such as guarding against attacks and dodge rolls. And in true Platinum fashion, the game grades you based on how well you do, weighing in the 3 areas of comboing, time, and damage taken, with ranks assigned at the end of each individual combat segment, as well as a final grade at the end based on your overall performance, which also factors in deaths and if you skipped any of the optional fights. These final ranks give you more money to spend, as well as provide you with an incentive to go back to try for a better score. Difficulty-wise, this game is actually pretty challenging. Compared to the rest of Platinum's library, especially Bayonetta 2, this is by far one of their more difficult entries, largely in part due to this strange control scheme that they implement, but more on that later. The fact that you can't dodge or guard when you first start out, and getting hit temporarily stuns some of your heroes, weakening your attacks adds to this difficulty, especially early on when you're not used to it. That being said, the game isn't particularly punishing, and you don't get set back at all for dying. In fact, by choosing to continue, you just respawn right where you died and can keep going. The only penalty is that you lose some points on your final grade, but if you don't care about that, then you have nothing to worry about. The game also offers 2 additional levels of difficulty that make the game easier than the standard mode, as well as a harder one that is unlocked after beating the game for the first time for those seeking that extra challenge. As I mentioned, the game has a bit of an unorthodox control scheme. My biggest issue was that sometimes I was unable to get the game to do what I wanted when drawing with the control stick, which if you're playing on the remaster, you're going to have to use because you don't have the gamepad at all. There's the possibility, although I don't know yet because the game's not out, that if you're playing undocked on the Switch, you might be able to use the touchscreen to just draw the patterns anyways. But again, that's all speculation, I can't tell you for certain. In fact, the integration of the Wii U gamepad into the game was one of the reasons that I didn't think the game was going to ever get ported. Obviously, the bottom screen map and UI can be changed to a menu that you can pull up, and you already have a way to draw unite morphs without using the touchscreen. But there are also segments in the game that require you to enter a building to solve a puzzle, which then displays on the Wii U gamepad, while the main environment is still up. In many cases, this dual screen nature is necessary, as you need to be able to see what's going on in both contexts in order to solve puzzles. These segments are actually the biggest issue with the original, as the camera is controlled with the gamepad, which is also the screen it's displayed on, with no real way to make big adjustments, as the C-stick is reserved for unite morphs. So you're completely unable to get the camera to pan how you want it to, making it so that you can't see the gamepad if you turn it too much. As mentioned, obviously this is changing, and hopefully it won't be a big issue going forward in the remaster. In terms of overall length, not counting going back and redoing every mission to get a perfect grade on hard mode and grinding out money to buy all the needed upgrades, the game takes about 17 hours according to how long to beat, with completionist runs expanding the runtime to an astonishing 81.5 hours. So there is quite a bit of content here to sink your teeth into. In terms of a normal playthrough, the game is a bit long and some missions feel bloated and a bit unnecessary. Looking at you, Operation 007. Also, the final boss sequence goes on for way too long and has far too many phases. My final verdict is that the game is a pretty fun time if you like Platinum's overall style of action games. It has its issues, sure, and the story is a bit ridiculous, but come on. That's present in all of Hideki Kamiya's work. The only game that isn't really like that is Okami, and that was back during his Capcom days, and even then, Okami does have its moments that are very, very Hideki Kamiya. I can definitely recommend this game to anyone, and I'm glad it's getting a chance to shine on a system that people actually bought this time. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe for more gaming content. Make sure when you subscribe, you also click on the bell icon so you get notified for every new video. Lastly, go ahead and leave a comment telling me what your thoughts are on the Wonderful 101. Have you heard of it before? Have you played the original? Stuff like that. But with that, I will see you guys next time.
Unstoppable, wonderful.